Hello and welcome to this game review. So in this one, Black played quite well in the opening and got a pretty significant advantage due to the one pawn advantage, and later even a second and third pawn. And now, what can we do to win this position? Well, the only way to not win this position is to allow too much counterplay. So this is the first thing. So at this point we have 3 pawns advantage, which is definitely enough. The only problem is our pieces are not activated, right? So we should play something like d4 at some point to open up the rooks, and then maybe exchange a lot of pieces, bring the king to the game, and this would give us quite a simple win. So rook h4, f5, rook hf1, h5, so we're not allowing counterplay, this is good. Knight d1, and now one of the principles in winning positions is to exchange as many pieces as possible, because the less pieces are on the board, the better our material advantage will be. And now we can have the chance to exchange our bishop for our knight, and it doesn't necessarily matter which piece is better, because we have a huge material advantage, so either way we will win. It doesn't matter if we have a knight against a bishop or not, so we can just take it and then defend this pawn. Next we can play e5 or d4. After activating our rook, bring our king somewhere, and we should be easily winning in this rook endgame because we have 3 pawns up. So this was probably the simplest way to play, to exchange as many pieces as possible. And also white should have understood that they have less material, which means they have to exchange as little pieces as possible. So knight d1, c5, knight f2, bishop f3. So black is avoiding the exchange, now d4, and takes back with the pawn, which does create a passed pawn, which is okay, but again, before making any decision, we have to think. And we have to think what's more important. Is it the passed pawn, or is it to activate the rooks? And here it is to activate the rooks, because either case we will have passed pawns in the future, because we have 3 pawns advantage. The problem with our position is not a lack of passed pawns, it is the lack of rook activity. And now these rooks are on the h file, we can use the d file, bring the king again, and we should win easily. So before making any move, we have to understand that we have a choice and we should not rush. So now white is blockading this pawn on d4, which it cannot move. Rook d to c6, which is a fine move tactically, but it does run into a fork, which is fine because we have a check. But now we will see that this pawn is dropping. Black now plays bishop d1, but again, we should try to exchange material and not keep such pawns on h5. We can play bishop d5 with the idea that after this, we can take the pawn on a2. And even though now white definitely has a lot of compensation for his pawns due to his knight on e5 against our bishop on a2, we are still winning due to our material advantage. But as you can see, our bishop is much worse than this knight, so we should have exchanged it while we had the chance. So now black is up 2 pawns, but in the meantime white had a lot of advantages like the strong knight on e5 and now the active king as well. Rook c2, rook h1, and rook d2 now. But this is quite an unnecessary check. We should just move away the bishop. Again, not fearing such exchanges, because piece exchanges will help us, because we have 2 pawns up, and we also have a very active rook. So instead, rook d2, but now our pieces are kind of in the way, and now the rook is cut off from the bishop, which black does not see, and she plays g6. But again, before making any move at all in chess, we have to think about our opponent's forcing moves. And after g6, the only opponent's forcing move really is to take the bishop, which we really had to see, because now we are completely lost, and everything has changed because of one move. So now black activates the king, which is something, because of course the position is kind of hopeless at this point, but we can still try to fight. h4, we have the passed pawn, and now black activates the rook, which is a very good idea. And another principle is When we have less material, we don't want to exchange pieces. We want to exchange pawns as much as possible. Because, for example, if we are left with a rook and a knight against a rook without any more pawns, the position is drawn if we defend well. So we want to aim for something like this. So now, after a4, this pawn is terribly weak, and we should go and pick it up. First check, and now, for example, rook d4, this is a fork on 2 pawns, and white is running out of pawns, and the less pawns on the board, the harder it will be to win for white. Also, if we take this one, we will have counterplay with these pawns, but now black makes a horrible mistake taking the rook, exchanging the rooks in 3 seconds, which is also alarming. In general, we should not make a single move in chess in less than 10 seconds without any exceptions. This is definitely not an automatic move. Black definitely has a choice, and black chose the wrong move. And of course, if we don't think, this will often happen, that we will just make the first move that comes to mind, and therefore we will make a mistake. So now white should win quite easily by bringing the king somewhere, but instead they only use the knight. And if we only use the knight and not both of the pieces that we have, we will not win. So now, after a6, black still has some chances to push with b5 next move. But a5, now white has an easy plan to pick up this pawn and then this one, but knight d4 is not the correct move. They should have improved the king, but after knight d4, king e7, now suddenly the position is a draw, which is quite strange, but black is in time to bring the king and play e5, which is a very good move, exchanging more pawns, after which, even though white is winning a pawn, there will only be one pawn left, and white's pieces are too far away to defend it, and black picks up the pawn, and from here black pushes the pawns, but white is able to blockade them and make a draw. So quite a good defense after losing the piece and exchanging rooks. But yeah, in general, we shouldn't exchange pieces when we're down so much material. This is completely a lost endgame because this is basically a pawn endgame where white has a knight up. So there was no reason to go for this. Our rook is quite strong and it could pick off some more pawns. So generally, we should not exchange pieces when we're down. And of course, we should never blunder pieces. Before making any move, we have to think about what the opponent can capture, check, or attack.